Tommy, this could be another year for Newman Haas.
Well, no question about it. And talking about streaks, the interesting thing, going back to my days at UCLA, what little I remember from statistics class, if you apply that, it actually becomes slightly more probable each step along the way. At the start of the streak, it's highly improbable, but as you go along, getting from 4 to 5 is actually a little more likely than getting from 3 to 4. And there's a number of reasons. There's functional and psychological. Functional, namely the processes, the equipment, all the things you're doing that got you to this point just get better and more refined. Psychologically, guys start to defeat themselves. Instead of focusing on the ball, they got one eye or two eyes on you. And when I was in that situation, you kind of get this sick pleasure of watching guys melt down around you. And Cristiano, I'm sure, is probably getting a little kick out of that himself.
I think the sports writer once said the battle goes not only to the strong nor the race to the swift, but that's the way to bet. Cristiano D'Amata is standing by with Derek Daly.
And Bob, as this season rolls on, obviously it's a joy to the Newman Haas team to have this streak going Cristiano D'Amata's way. It's an increasing frustration for everybody else in the paddock. Yesterday in the first session, Michael Andretti did a great run. He was fastest, and he stayed fastest for a good 10 or 15 minutes. And then Cristiano came out and didn't just go faster, blew him away by more than 6/10. I mean, deflates everybody. We're trying to ask the question, though, what is it about this team and D'Amata that makes it so magical? Mike Russell, one of the front-end mechanics, I asked him, he said, consistency. Cristiano does the same thing every single lap, puts the same tires on the same groove every corner. Kenny Seabeat, the assistant team manager, he believes Cristiano is so analytical, so pointed, so direct, and so informative to his engineers that he keeps his car above everybody else in terms of setup. The Cristiano, you've got the smile, the confident feel, the confident look about you. If I was to ask you, what do you think it is that just gives you this edge, Cristiano, that's so ongoing this season?
It's a difficult question because we've been doing the same kind of thing. I mean, I've been doing the same thing I was doing last year. Like, I feel like I'm continuing improving as a driver, but just the natural improvement. I don't think there's. I think there was probably something we were missing last year and the previous years that it's difficult to explain because we know that definitely one thing is like this year. I have the car a lot more tuned my driving style than before. Before there was still a lot of things still on the way that Christian and Michael used to like the way the car to drive. And this year everything is a lot more towards the way I wanted. And it's something that it takes a little bit of time. So you get a car that has this type of handling and to transform it to a car that has this type of handling. So that helps a little bit, but I think there's probably some other factors there that from the inside we cannot see very well, but I think it's a team effort. I think Toyota probably has stepped up their game this year too. Lola is definitely a better car than it was last year. Our setup is better, and it's just I mean the car is more tuned towards my way of driving. It's just everything, you know, everything is just coming our way this year.
You're blowing everybody off. You're squashing people. Are you enjoying squashing those guys?
Yeah, of course I am. It doesn't happen every day, and I've been squashed a lot in the past, so now it's my turn.
It's your turn. He says it doesn't happen every day. Right now it's happening most days. Calvin?
Well, Derek, Cristiano this afternoon has the security blanket of being locked into that front row by getting the fastest time yesterday. Tony Kanaan, his buddy here, second fastest yesterday, Tony, but the goalposts have moved, and that man D'Amata again this morning. What's that all about?
I don't know, man. He's on fire. I guess, you know, he's got a good momentum going on. He's a good driver. The team is supporting him big time, so I guess he's just doing his job.
You spent some time with him this week, 4 in a row. You said he's got to be doing something right. You spent some time in Miami with him, working out and doing some things. What did you learn? And I understand he's got some lucky socks. Did you steal those?
Well, what we did after Sunday, I decided that 4 in a row was enough. So we flying back home. I had to carry on one of his trophies. He had one pole position trophy and one win. I had to carry on one of them. I said, look, this is wrong, man. So from today on, I'm going to do whatever you do, and I'm going to stay in your house for the whole week. Obviously work. So I drink every time he drank anything, I drank. Every time he ate, I ate the same food. I slept at the same time, woke up at the same time. So I did everything. It looks like it's working. And obviously every race weekend he has a bicycle socks, and I stole one from him this week, and he doesn't know, and it's right here. I can show you guys. Look at that. So that's the socks. So he doesn't know, so probably now he will figure it out. But
talk about yesterday's session, Tony. I mean, it's very close out there at the end of these sessions. Everyone waits. Everyone's on the track together. And in the post-race qualifying press conference, you had some words about a particular driver saying that there's kind of a habit there in getting held up by the same guy.
I mean, it's unbelievable. You have an hour, everybody goes out in the last 10 minutes. People look at us and say, what are you guys doing, you know? But what happens is the track gets better all the time, especially yesterday because we ran late. So late in the afternoon was getting cooler, so everybody was trying to get at the same time. I got traffic for the same guy twice, but we already spoke. He told me he didn't see me, so hopefully that was the truth. And but it's busy. I mean, everybody's trying to get a lap, especially these days. It's so competitive. Well, taking Cristiano out, everybody else is competitive. So.
All right, Tony, good luck this afternoon. Tony only 8 fastest this morning, but he didn't have a chance to put new rubber on there, so he expects to be near the front of the pack this afternoon, Bob.
I'll give him another set of fresh tires to bring out for qualifying. Coming up in just a moment, we'll give you a look at the rest of our broadcast schedule tomorrow. The Grand Prix of Cleveland comes your way live on CBS Sports at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then tune in at 5 Eastern on Speed Channel for round 8 of the Toyota Atlantic Championship from here in Cleveland. We'll be right back.
How do they see through the stop?
Today's live Speed Channel coverage is brought to you by FedEx, proud sponsor of the Kart FedEx Championship Series. By Toyota, get the feeling. And by Bridgestone Tires, advanced technology that gives you a grip on the future. Welcome back to Burke Lakefront Airport. Closed for racing this weekend, but that doesn't mean you can't fly over it. Upside down, right side up, twisting, 10 Gs at a time. This is Mike Mancuso in the Klein Tools aerobatic aircraft. And here's the part that really cheeses me off. Yesterday, Scott Pruitt actually got to ride with Mike in the airplane. There's a view of Burke Lakefront Airport you don't often see. And when we asked Scott the all-important question about whether or not he left with the same meal he brought on, he said yes. Welcome back. There's a look at the pit lane as we are just a couple of minutes away from the second round of qualifying for the Grand Prix of Cleveland. We'll give you a look at the morning practice times. As predicted, this track rubbered in further and got quicker and quicker. And the result, as we've seen so often, was Cristiano D'Amata up front. Here's a look at the morning incidents. Dario Franchitti lost grip, got off the track near that new patch between 7 and 8, got into the tires.
There's a new patch which is smoother, but right there on the transition there's a big bump, and they know the bump's there, but if you're on a really good lap a little bit wide, you might keep your foot in it, and the car just jumped off the track, and a lot of guys are having trouble there, as you'll see in these next clips.
How about Scott Dixon? Same part of the racetrack, didn't quite get the left side wheels off, but the result was the same. This is interesting. Watch the transition right there.
See, he was in trouble already before that. When you go to the brakes, that's a long triple right-hander, and it's almost like a big skid pad, but you have to brake kind of in the middle.
More mundane problem for Patrick Carpentier in the engine bay. His Forsyth player's entry. He was able to climb out. The fire was put out, and the Canadian was shortly thereafter back at work. Here's a look at the results of this morning's practice. Look at the improvement. Yesterday they were going around at about 58.5 seconds. Today, Cristiano D'Amata drove that all the way down to 57.177 seconds, up around 134 miles an hour in average speed. Adrian Fernandez and Shinji Nakano, his teammate at Fernandez Racing, continue to struggle. I want to take you back last week to Toronto. Tommy Kendall found some companionship on race day.
I'm TK, and I am Canadian.
That's right, and there's a reason for that. Remember, Tommy Kendall swore that if Paul Tracy stayed up front in second round qualifying, he would change his citizenship. Have you memorized the words to O Canada yet, TK?
That keg I bought for her lasted all weekend. Just for the day.
That's more than you did, mate.
Oh, that's Calvin having some fun with TK. There's Calvin with the man who made TK a Canadian.
That's right. Paul Tracy, we've got a couple of new bad boys in this series right now. Obviously, Townsend's getting a fair amount of attention, and Tags yesterday had a little bit of a session there with Tony Kanaan in the qualifying session. Nice to get that target off your back for a change.
Yeah, I mean, ever since Indy, I've been the fan favorite with everybody, so it's nice to have the pressure taken off a little bit and let these other guys have all the heartache.
We're seeing that qualifying is very important, Paul, track position, so these sessions are super critical. This morning's practice didn't go the way you wanted to see it happen. 6 fastest, but you believe you've got a lot more speed in this Lola this afternoon.
I think the car is pretty good. For most of the session, I was in the top 3, and then a couple guys put new tires on at the end and put a time together. But I think yesterday we were quick. This morning we were quick the whole session. We just got to get the qualifying, just do everything right in the qualifying. It's so important to get the pressures right, the amount of fuel right, and then catch the lap at the right time without any traffic. And that's always, D'Amato's making it look easy, but it's a lot harder than that.
You got something for him today?
I hope. I think I have a good car, and I'd like to be in the top 3 like last week in Toronto.
All right, PT, go get him.
Thank you.
Paul Tracy comes in 9th on the provisional grid. Now, Paul Tracy has been known for a long time as the bad boy of kart racing, if you will. Lately, that title has shifted over to a Canadian, Alex Tagliani. Let's take you back last week to Toronto. Tagliani got into the back of Dario Franchitti, driving him up into the tires. Michel Jourdain in the Office Depot car was an innocent bystander. How do you read this one, TK?
Well, that clearly, to me, is a payback. It's just like Roger Clemens plunking a guy in the batter's box when the guy before hits it out of the park.
Well, Dario Franchitti wound up out of the race, and he was not a happy man afterwards.
If that's the game he wants to play, then there's always going to be a loser. It's a silly game to start playing. I guess that's one of the reasons the guy hasn't won a race, playing games like that, because it's not the way to go. You know, he's involved in an instance with Paul before, and with Tag, it's always somebody else's fault. He's never the one at fault.
As you can tell, Dario Franchitti has not particularly cooled down over a week. Now let's get Alex Tagliani's side of the story. He's with Scott Pruitt.
Alex, we just heard from Franchitti saying what you did to him last week was very deliberate, was very pointed, that, you know, the reason you haven't won races was certainly because you've been getting caught up in too many incidents on the racetrack. What do you have to say about that?
Well, at the beginning of the race, I passed quite a bit of guys pretty fairly, and when I got up to Dario, I passed him down turn 1, and he completely pushed me out of the racetrack down turn 3, and didn't understand why. So I came back last, and I passed all those guys back again, and when I tried to do the same thing to him, pass him on the inside, I caught up on the marbles, and I completely slide, and I touched him. And I guess I understand why he did that to me, because he probably got caught up into the same situation. And later on into the race, I tried to pass Jimmy, and I got up, beside Jimmy, and I ran straight into the corner, and Jimmy got me back. Same situation. A lot of marbles into the inside of turn 3, and a lot of guys got caught there. You know, not just myself and Dario. So that was pretty much a race incident. But when he says that I push a lot of guys, I wanna see who, and I wanna ask, you know, which guys, because I've been put out of the racetrack pretty much, you know, every race this season. Long Beach, 2 guys, Chicago, and I don't see, my nose always clean, not compared with his teammate that they also painted the nose black. So I don't know. I guess we need to talk, and he needs to tell me who.
Now we get into here. Let's get off Toronto for a minute and back here to Cleveland. Now this weekend seems to be a bit of a struggle. You have the setup exactly where you want. What changes have you made, and how have things been going so far this weekend?
Well, I think Pat and myself, we're struggling really hard because our car feels really good. There's not really a problem to fix. The cars, when there's understeer, we fix it. When there's oversteer, we fix it. And then when the car feels pretty good to us, we look at the lap time, and there's no lap time. So I don't know if it's downforce. I think there's a lot of theory on that, you know, from the engineers. But, you know, that's what we have, and we really need to work a lot harder to create some lap time.
Well, best of luck for today. The player team continue to look for a better car here in Cleveland. We'll wait and see what happens in qualifying. Bob?
All right, thanks very much, Scott. Appears we may have a little bit of a rivalry on our hands here. We are now under a green flag, just over 5 minutes into this 1-hour session. Don't forget, AMA Superbike action from Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca is coming your way today live on Speed Channel at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And the World Rally from Kenya is going on. We have same-day coverage every day through Monday at 11 Eastern, only on Speed.
Well, it's Friday night and I got some money. Gonna call my friends and start myself a party. Got my best friends on and a set on wheels. Whoa, gonna tear up the town.
Anybody recognize Paul Tracy with those very bookish-looking glasses on as a young man? One of 3 former winners in this year's field. Bobby Rahal, 20 years ago, won the inaugural Grand Prix of Cleveland here at Burke Lakefront Airport. Kevin Cogan sat on pole for that race. Mario Andretti and Emerson Fittipaldi are tied for most poles here at the airport with 2. The most wins is a tie between Danny Sullivan and Emerson Fittipaldi with 3 apiece. Bobby Rahal very much remembers with a lot of fondness his first ever kart win here. Earlier, Derek Daly spoke with him about it.
Cleveland, God, 82, 20 years.
When you and I had hair.
Yeah. Well, for us, that was a kind of a storybook or a Cinderella race because Jim Trimlin was from Cleveland. My mother and father were from Cleveland. I was born near Cleveland. The guy who owned the 2 cars that we had was from Cleveland, Dick Leplin. So you go to this race in Cleveland, and it's like all of a sudden you're the hometown team, hometown boy. And I think we qualified second. Kevin Cogan, I think, was first. And it was a long race. It was 500 kilometers in those days, not 200 miles. And so we thought it was more of an endurance contest than an actual sprint. And you know, Kevin took off, but the car broke, and then it was, you know, me, Mario, and Al Sr. And of course, to win, then I for sure became the hometown boy, and we were the hometown team after that. I'm still living off that out there 20 years later, but yeah, it was quite a day for us.
No question about it. There is Bobby Rahal. In addition to that victory and a pole, Bobby has 6 podium finishes here in Cleveland, including 5 in a row from 1987 through 1991. Of course, Michel Jourdain Jr. and the lap record holder, Jimmy Vasser, are Bobby's drivers this weekend. Let's get down to the pit lane and more on that story with Scott Pruitt.
That's exactly right. A past pole sitter sitting here with me right now, Jimmy Vasser. Jimmy, I know he's been a little frustrating over the last couple races, but here, wow, things have been looking pretty good.
Yeah, we came off the trailer relatively close. The car's working pretty good, and you know, but still we're light years behind Damata. He's just in a whole nother planet than everybody else. So unless he has some problems, all you can really hope for is, you know, second, kind of. So we're hoping to be in the top 3. Got a decent car. Ford's been working hard. You know, we'll see how it goes.
Now, talking about the Cosworth program, the Ford Cosworth program, we've heard a lot about what's going on with Toyota, a lot with Honda. Does Cosworth have the depth and tenacity to get through this season with a win?
Oh yeah, no, they've done it in the past. I just think that, you know, it's kind of an accordion effect. One engine manufacturer's always a little bit ahead of the others, and then they catch up and so forth. So, you know, Dave Good's here from England, and he's a real sharp guy, one of the designers, and we seem to be making some gains on it.
Well, best of luck for their day, as Jimmy, one of the main runners for Ford Cosworth, look to get their first win this weekend in Cleveland. Guys.
All right, thanks very much, Scott. We are now 11 minutes into the session, but as we've become accustomed to in 2 rounds of qualifying in the Kart FedEx Championship Trail, no one is going out until late in the session to throw out their 15 timed laps. Here's a reminder, we put a new twist on Speed News. Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, the usual. All the latest from NASCAR, kart, FIA World Rally, bikes, and more. Then on Sunday, we'll debut the NASCAR edition of Speed News at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. 30 minutes dedicated to breaking down the weekend's NASCAR events. And then we continue at 7:30 with all of the highlights and analysis from the rest of the world of motorsports that you've come to expect from Speed News. Saturday and Sunday nights, 7 Eastern, only on Speed Channel. We'll take a break and be back in Cleveland in a moment.
Express pickup.
Welcome back to Burke Lakefront Airport and second and final round qualifying for round 9 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series. Kart Grand Prix of Cleveland. Still no one on track. Coming up on 14 minutes into this 60-minute session. 2 weeks from now, we'll be on the streets of Vancouver, British Columbia, on the west coast of Canada. For the Molson Indy Vancouver. Last year's winner and a very happy man indeed. Why not? Roberto Moreno. Here's a look at our coverage schedule. Kart Friday qualifying at 5 p.m. Eastern Time live on Speed, followed by Kart Friday night, which will also be live from Vancouver at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Saturday qualifying is live at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Sunday's race will be live here on Speed Channel. Our pre-race show begins at 4 p.m. Eastern. The race flags off at 4:30. Now let's get back down to the pit lane and Calvin Fish.
Well, Kenny Breck certainly had a poor qualifying session by his standards yesterday, but big move this morning in the practice times, Kenny. Obviously satisfied with the balance with the car?
Yeah, we've been working hard with the balance since yesterday, and I think we have a better balance now. But we were pretty good yesterday morning too in the practice, so we thought we had a good car for qualifying. But you know, if the balance or track changes a little bit, these cars are so sensitive at the speeds and so close the field is. So it's we don't know. We'll see here soon.
After a podium finish at Laguna, you then had 2 poor results at Portland and then Chicago, but you got really back on track last weekend with a second-place finish. This points chase, I mean, how do you approach it now? I know you came into the season thinking you could win this championship, but with D'Amato way out front, do you change your strategy? Do you go for more for wins? You have to make up big points right now, or do you just keep doing what you thought you'd be doing at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do each race. You know, you focus on each race, try to do the best result possible. Obviously, he's on a roll, and he seems to be uncatchable. You know, but we're going to work hard to catch him, and we do every weekend, and we're getting closer, but we're not there yet.
All right, Kenny's going to see if he can sneak a point away this afternoon by taking the fastest time. Let's get down to Derek at the Motorola camp.
Michael Andretti is having a chat with Jody Karam, who is his personal trainer. And Mikey tells me he's in the best physical shape he's been in for the last, recent years anyway. Hey, Jody, is he in good shape?
He's in top-notch shape.
You're bound to say that, of course. You're responsible for it. Mikey, you have a smile on your face. Yesterday, actually, when you look at our timing scores, you were position 1 for a long time. Coming off a disaster in Toronto, you got to make you feel good.
Yeah, it does. You know, the team Motorola did a great job over the week trying to attack the problems that I was having in Toronto and even the other races, and I think we're getting on to something now. And, you know, the car was just comfortable right away, and we've just been doing little things to hopefully improve it a little bit. But, you know, yesterday we were right there, only a couple hundredths off the pole, which we probably would have been, I mean, not the pole, but the front row, and we would have been there if it wasn't for the pop-off valve. So hopefully that won't happen today.
Michael, what is it about the qualifying sessions now? Can you work on the car, or is it just all about timing, or is luck play a factor in the magical qualifying laps?
I think all the above. I think it comes down to timing it right, getting out there and being on the track when the track is at its best, because the last 5 minutes it could, you know, gain 2 to 3 tenths of a second because everybody's out there putting down new rubber, and the problem is everybody's out there doing it, and then the luck comes in on whether you're going to get a clear lap or not.
Thank you, Michael. Jody, our producer just put me on the spot here, so I want to put you on the spot. Working with race car drivers, there are certain attributes that you obviously become aware of. Is there anything unusual about race car drivers compared to other athletes that you may work with?
Well, I don't know about race car drivers in general, but I know with Michael there is. The guy's just relentless and he won't stop. That's why he is who he is.
And do they need physical strength, I mean muscle bulk, or is it cardiovascular? Well, what's the main thing that you might work on?
We want to work cardiovascular as much as possible, but he still wants to maintain his strength throughout the race, so it's kind of a weird combination you have to work.
You enjoy it?
Oh, I live for it.
And of course, Jody has a son who's 7 years of age who's now getting into go-karting, so he will be a team manager or team owner in the future.
He's going to know a lot about racing drivers in the future. Michael Andretti with 1 pole back in 1989 here at Cleveland and a victory in 91 to go with 6 top 5s. Don't try this at home, kids. I'm a trained professional. We'll be right back. Today's live Speed Channel coverage is brought to you by Honda, proud sponsor of the 2002 FedEx Championship Series, and by Circuit City. We know the excitement you feel about the latest digital toys. That's why we're here. Circuit City, we're with you. Still no one on track here in the second and final round of qualifying for the Kart Grand Prix of Cleveland. The Yankees are in town playing the Indians at the Jake, and there is Jason Giambi, probably the biggest Yankee of them all, winner of the Home Run Derby at the recent All-Star Game, and holder of a mega contract, typical of George Steinbrenner's Yankees in this day and age. As you see, no activity in the pit lane. We're now over 21 minutes into the session, leaving about 38 minutes, 40 seconds to go. Tommy, when somebody goes, everybody's going to go.
That's the thing. I'm actually really getting to like these sessions, and it takes some getting used to, but it's just the tension builds, and then all hell breaks loose, and the action is frenzied. And again, it gets back to the one thing they know for sure is the track is faster. They also know they might get blocked, which explains why they're always going to take that gamble.
Well, until we get Nerf bars, we'll just have to enjoy it. Let's get down to the pit lane and Calvin Fish.
Well, we've got a baseball star here, boys, and it's not my game. Cricket's more my game from England. But, Jason, good to see you here. You're a race fan, or just the fact you're in the area?
No, we're in playing the Indians, and I'm good friends with Paul Tracy, so we had a chance to come out here and qualify, so we wanted to come out and see him.
Okay, you going to be here for race day tomorrow, or are you heading back somewhere else?
No, definitely. We play at the same time, so unfortunately we're going to miss that. So I tried to come out and see my boy and see him race out there. We've been friends for a long time, so it's fun to be out here.
You ever been in a race car yourself out on the racetrack?
No, they'd have to pry me out of that thing. We got a couple of the guys in there, but there's no way they have to get a shoehorn and get me out of there.
You've been kicking butt here in Cleveland.
Oh, it's been unbelievable. I mean, playing with the Yankees has been a dream come true, so I've been having a lot of fun.
All right, mate, nice to meet you. Let's get down to Scott Pruitt with Scott Dixon.
Currently sitting third on the grid, Scott Dixon, but unfortunately had a bit of it off this morning. What happened?
Basically, we didn't change the car at all from last night to today. This morning the car was very loose, and we just got a little wide in 8, and the car actually went in pretty hard, but we didn't damage anything. So hopefully we've sort of tried to change the balance a little bit, and it's not going to be too bad for qualifying.
Now, the fact that Ganassi has 3 cars out here, do you guys all share data, and will that give you an advantage come qualifying and or race day?
We've tried. Everybody does. We all do sit in the same room and debrief, and we do share all the information. But obviously, driver style is quite different. It's the most different I've had since I've been in the series. Between actually Bruno and Kenny, so they drive a lot different. Where in the past, like Mauricio and myself were very close, but. We like things similar some places, but here, as you saw yesterday, they weren't so good, and we were good. But that's been our biggest sort of hurdle so far, is trying to find the car how we like it after they've done all the preseason testing and got it where they like it.
Well, best of luck for today. I actually had a chance to sit down with Ganassi a couple hours ago, and he said, you know what, it's a struggle right now. We get one car at the top, and the next 2 aren't. We have 2 cars at the top, and then we don't have another one. So it's been a difficult set of circumstances to get all 3 at the top at the same time. Bob?
All right, thanks, Scott. At the back of that picture, you might have noticed former Formula One and Kart FedEx Championship Series driver Stefan Johansson, for whom Scott Dixon drove in the Indy Lights Championship back in 1999. Here's a program note. Coming up tonight, the Speed World Challenge from Mid-Ohio. Touring cars at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, followed at 10 by the GT division. We'll be back with more from Burke Lakefront Airport in just a moment. Welcome back to round 9 of the Kart FedEx Championship Series. We're in final qualifying for the Kart Grand Prix of Cleveland at Burke Lakefront Airport. I'm Bob Varsha along with Tommy Kendall, Derek Daly, Calvin Fish, and Scott Pruitt are in the pit lane. Scott has a few thoughts on strategy.
That's exactly what's going on right now. I just got done talking to Ian Watt, engineer for Tony Kanaan. He said it's a little bit of a chicken and egg thing. We don't want to go too soon, but we're also waiting to see what everybody else does. The reality of the situation is we want to go at the very last minute, hopefully in an essence, to try and get that quick lap at the end of the session, but at the same time, we don't want to go so late where we get blocked on the racetrack. I did ask him, I said, how do you stretch this out? He says, we're only going to do 2 runs. We're going to put on a sticker set each time. Each run is going to be 6 or 7 laps, which is going to use our total amount of 15 laps anyway. So standing by, there's nobody getting in their cars right now. wait and see what happens here in the next 10 minutes. Calvin?
Well, some of the teams are putting some engine temperature into the machine, Scott, but one big change, we talked about it yesterday, how come these drivers are getting a good lap on the 5th, 6th, 7th time lap with the same set of tires. We saw at Portland the Goody lap was the 3rd one. Well, it's a different Bridgestone tire here this weekend. It's a much harder compound, same construction that the guys have been using at Portland, Laguna, and Monterey, but it's taken a little bit longer to get into that zone, into its really optimum temperature. Dario Franchitti this morning had a little bit of an off, cost him some track time. And Dario, this racetrack is tricky with the bumps, but turn 8, you kind of play chicken with the edge of the racetrack there as you're looking at the apex. Very easy to make a mistake down there.
Yeah, I made one this morning. I ran out of road in turn 7. Couldn't find so much grip on the grass there and ended up in the wall in turn 8. So yeah, you're definitely, you're hustling very quickly through there, and there's not much margin for error, particularly on the exit of 8 where that wall comes up to you real quick.
I saw Alan nip down and had a word with Eddie Jones, who's working on Michael's car, of course, and 3 car under the Team Green banner. Are you comfortable that this afternoon you're going to have a good setup underneath you, even though you got very few laps after the incident this morning?
The frustrating thing is the car has felt good pretty much all weekend, so we're just tweaking it. There is a lot of grip out there. The Bridgestones are giving us a lot of grip. You know, it's taken a couple of laps to get the tires up to temperature, but when they're working, there's an incredible amount of grip. We just got to tie a lap together, I guess.
Forecast for this afternoon, where do you think you can run?
I have no idea. I'll go as quick as the car will allow me.
All right, mate. Good luck this afternoon. Cheers.
That is Dario Franchitti, who started 14th at Burke Lakefront Airport last year and went on to win the race. That was the worst starting position ever for a Cleveland winner. Now let's stay on the subject of tires for a moment. Here's Derek Daly.
Bob, Joe Barbieri is the project supervisor for Bridgestone tires. Joe, we just heard Dario Franchitti said there's an incredible amount of grip from the tires here, yet it takes 5 to 6 laps, it appears, to bring them up to temperature. Is there an unusually hard compound that you've brought here for this weekend?
It's not the hardest one that we do produce, but it is in the middle of the road. It's harder than what we've run so far this year. And basically, this track has always been pretty severe on tires, so it's just a precautionary measure.
What's the hardest track of the year on tires, Joe?
Elkhart Lake is the most severe road track that we go to, so that's the hardest compound. And of course, this one here is a little harder than the one maybe at Laguna Seca. So
I think, Joe, one of the interesting things that people don't realize, a Bridgestone, Japanese company, but these tires are made down the street here in Akron, Ohio, right?
Oh, exactly right, and that's why this race is so big for us. Yeah, right down the road, 35 miles or so, is the Advanced Technology Workshop, where we have those proud employees that build all the tires that are used here in Cleveland.
Do drivers complain much about tires? Do they need more speed and come to you to look for it?
We've had some great comments from drivers over the last couple weeks, and a couple of them that commented that actually our tires are too good. They comment that they last too long and it doesn't differentiate between their driving style, so that's where maybe some of the trouble is in passing, but we're not going to give up. We're still going to make the best tire available out there to everybody.
Good. Thanks, Joe. Best of luck. Thank you. Bob?
All right, thanks very much, Derek. We have now set a new record of dubious distinction. We are over 30 minutes and 30 seconds elapsed without a car on track. That breaks our previous longest time, which was 28 minutes and 30 seconds earlier this year at Portland.
It is quality, not quantity. When it happens, it will happen in a big way. And one thing about Bridgestone, both Bridgestone and Firestone, every series they've entered, they've almost run everybody else out of business. You saw it in kart, you've seen it in the IRL, and you're starting to see it in Formula One with Bridgestone and the Ferrari. It's just phenomenal what those guys do with compounding.
There's a look at just a little bit of what it takes to transform Burke Lakefront Airport from an airport into a racetrack. Over 11 million pounds of concrete barriers installed to keep the car safely on track. Tens of thousands of man-hours as well. And Sunday night goes back to being an airport. Drivers are in their cars. We'll take a break and be right back. Last night at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to benefit the Hall's educational fund. This is Mario Dominguez, a rookie from Mexico City, first car on track in the Erdes number 55 Lola, trying to improve on 17th place on the provisional grid. Of course, there's a separate championship bonus point at stake today, as well as a spot on the front row for the fastest man of the session, who will no doubt be quicker than yesterday's provisional pole sitter Cristiano D'Amata.
And you can see that pavement change upset Mario's car back there going through turn 7, about halfway out from the exit. That's also where Dario ran into trouble.
Scott Pruitt is standing by in the pit lane with Christian Fittipaldi.
An anxious driver to get in his car. Christian, a lot of emphasis has been put on your teammate, but you've had a tremendous run so far this year.
It's been going pretty well. We finished 3 times on the podium so far. We have to get that win, there's no doubt about it, but at the same time we're scoring the points, and I'm pretty sure that that's going to make a difference at the end of the year.
Now the focus on qualifying, everybody's waiting until the last minute. We were just talking about that. How nerve-wracking, I know that the fans are going, wow, how come you guys aren't out there? But how nerve-wracking is that on you, sitting here waiting around anxious to go out and having to wait to the last minute?
It's all a mind game. And I guess everyone here, all the drivers and team owners and team managers, they're just trying to screw up with everyone's mind. I don't know what to say.
Oh, best of luck out there. Derek?
Thanks, Scott. Tony Kanaan made an interesting comment yesterday, right after he did a lap in the morning that put him on the front row of the grid temporarily. He said, this was the car from hell. And he said, if we can do that type of speed, wait till we get this thing sorted out. Reminded me of a comment by Tim Coffeen, one of the lead mechanics for Cristiano D'Amata, who told me when his car is comfortable, it's not fast. It has to be on the edge. And think back to Toronto. In the morning warm-up, the fastest man on the track was Christian Fittipaldi. His comment afterwards was the car feels terrible. Is that a reoccurring theme that says these Lolas have to be on the edge, have to feel uncomfortable to really be fast? And has Cristiano D'Amata accepted that? And does he work with it better than the rest of the guys at the moment? Tommy, what do you think?
That's usually rare. Obviously, comfort usually translates into lap time. But if they start getting onto that, maybe this car has a quirk where when it's on its edge, it really produces lap times. And that's bad news for the rest of the field, because if Cristiano's accepted it, maybe they need to do the same thing and instead of trying to make it quick.
Scott Pruitt.
That's exactly right. As you guys are talking about that, I was sitting there having lunch with Tony, as well as talking to Cristiano earlier. I said, what are these things like to drive? I said, are they smooth or are they a handful? This thing getting ready to rip out of your hands. And he says, you know the drill. He said, these things, they aren't smooth at all. I mean, they're sideways, they're up, they're down, and around, they're over. I mean, just when you think you got this thing right, it wants to snap out underneath you and get loose. He said, you can't keep in control, but it's fast. He says, and that's the way we have to drive these cars. Bob, Tommy?
All right, thanks very much, Scott. There you see Patrick Carpentier on track. Mario Dominguez has come in 59.033 seconds, the quick time thus far. We'll be right back. Welcome back to final round qualifying for the Kart Grand Prix of Cleveland. Bob Varsha, Tommy Kendall, Derek Daly, Calvin Fish, and Scott Pruitt with you. You ride with Alex Tagliani. .583 seconds, a 2/10 improvement over his best performance yesterday. Alex Tagliani is provisionally 10th. Now watching Dario Franchitti within 20 minutes of the end of the session.
And the thing that is really clear from those onboard shots, how this track is so much different. The width of the runway means that a lot of times, like turn 3 and turn 5, they're not even lifting until they've turned in for the corner. And what that does setup-wise, everybody has their preferences, but Michael alluded to really being happy with how aggressive he could be on the brakes. And what that requires is a lot of both roll stiffness and pitch stiffness, because you're not braking in a straight line. You need the car to really lay flat when you're turning and braking.
Riding with Dario Franchitti, looking out through the gap in his helmet with our visor cam. Franchitti currently 9th. Fast man of the session thus far, Patrick Carpentier at 58.054 seconds. That was a 0.6 improvement over his best performance yesterday. Remember, he lost that engine earlier today, so that's good news for the Canadian. Picking up dust on the right side.
Get a much better sense of the roughness from this shot rather than the one that's mounted on the roll bar.
That also gave you a good idea, driver's eye level, how flat this track is. Very little in the way of telltale markers for your braking and turn in.
It's just a sea of concrete out here. This is where that transition is. Bang, right there. See, it's upsetting the car drastically. Right after that, they're trying to keep it on the road, and they're about to go to the brakes for turn 8.
This is only the second lap for Kanaan. As we spoke earlier, getting these Bridgestone Potenzas up to temperature for an optimum lap could take as many as 6 laps. Scott Pruitt has more on Kanaan.
That's exactly right. I was talking to Tony a little earlier. We talked about the car. But the other fact you guys have to remember is the fact that they changed the Lola very recently. He says, you know what, we're finally getting enough miles under this car to really start getting a feel for what we're looking for. We've had a lot of problems. We've had some brake issues. And you got to realize all these other teams that have had Lolas either have changed last year to this year or have had them in the past are up to speed on all this stuff. In fact, as Tommy had talked about earlier, even with some of the uprights, the 2001s instead of the 2002 uprights, he said, so we're a bit frustrated. He said, we're happy with our performance. We're always a step behind because we don't have the time that all these other teams working with the Lola directly. It's kind of every time we get into a new race, we learn something new about the race car. Bob?
Thanks, Scott. We are, in fact, seeing a number of hybrid chassis, not only older Lola parts on the new Lola chassis, but also some mixing and matching of Reynard as well as Lola parts on these cars.
And most specifically, Paul Tracy, after his braking trouble last week at Toronto, they have switched the brake bias knob and some of the innards on the pedals from the Reynard over to their Lola.
There's Jimmy Vasser, the first we've seen of the former pole sitter, currently 10th on the provisional grid. As he brings the Shell car up to speed, we'll take a quick break and return with more live from Burke Lakefront Airport. Today's live Speed Channel coverage is being brought to you by Bridgestone Tires, advanced technology that gives you a grip on the future. And by FedEx, proud sponsor of the Kart FedEx Championship Series. About 13 and a half minutes to go in this second and final qualifying session for the Kart Grand Prix of Cleveland. There is Tony Kanaan. While we were away, he had a quick spin. And we also had our first big improvement. Dario Franchitti now stands on provisional pole. Here's a look at what happened to Kanaan. Watch the upper left-hand corner of your screen.
And what that is, that's in the 9-10 complex. 9 is a real quick right-left flick. There's a huge bump at the apex, and then at the center of that runway, the crown changes from one way. Here's the right, big bump. Another one back here, and the car is starting to bounce, and when you cross over the center of the runway, it goes to off-camber. Usually, the car, if it's balanced, will settle into a push there. But you saw the car was already bouncing, and it was bouncing when it went over the crown. It just got away from him.
So there's Kanaan cooling it a little bit. Now Cristiano D'Amata goes to the top of the charts again at 57.170 seconds, and that is 7 thousandths of a second quicker than he went in this morning's practice. Fast lap of the weekend. On board with D'Amata in the Haviland car. Calvin Fish.
Well, it's hard to get anyone to really pinpoint why Cristiano is so fast, but I was talking to Bill Pappas, who is Bruno Junqueira's engineer this morning, and he said, we really feel he's got an advantage in the quick corners right now. We looked at Laguna from the corkscrew on down to turn 11. He was very fast. And here at Cleveland, look for his speed through 6, 7, and 8, the very fast stuff at the end of the circuit, TK.
Well, and what that says, everyone's running roughly the same aero package. They have a little bit different front wings than some of the other guys do. As you know, that stuff is frozen. What it more likely means is they're doing a better job of managing those surfaces. And I mentioned that 6, 7, 8 complex is like a long skid pad. If you remember way back when, Mark Donahue used to take all their cars to the skid pad. It's the best way to measure steady state. And it really will highlight an advantage in grip, balance, and downforce. Coming into that section after this left-hander, long right, and the car is almost never straight.
One big arc.
One big arc. So if you're off a little bit, it just, the time gap adds up.
It's got to be doubly hard to line up for that corner, being as you have no visual references.
You kind of have a really, really accurate built-in gyro inside your body that tells you, and timing-wise, you can tell, you put that in with what you're getting through your eyes, and you're able to put all that together.
Ooh, 2/10 off, 57.739. That was lap number 6. He may come in and change tires and go back out again. 10 minutes and 45 seconds left in the session. And there's the Haviland team from Newman Haas. Gibbons, the left of your screen with the headset on and arms crossed.
Right now showing you P1.
Rocky Ruckeline also on the headset, speaking to his man Cristiano D'Amata, for whom everything has gone well. Now there's Jimmy Vasser, currently shown back at 11th spot. Checking Jimmy's laps. He's working his 7th lap. Looks like he'll head for the pit lane. As we mentioned, this is the 20th anniversary of his car owner, Bobby Rahal, winning the first ever kart Grand Prix of Cleveland. 2 members of Team Rahal, Jimmy Prescott and Clay Filson, were on that team 20 years ago, and they are still with Bobby Rahal. We'll take a quick break as Cristiano D'Amata heads for the Newman Haas pits, still sitting first in Cleveland. Welcome back to a beautiful day in Cleveland at Burke Lakefront Airport, where we have about 7 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the second and final round of qualifying for the kart Grand Prix of Cleveland. Here's a look at how they stand. Cristiano D'Amata, coming into today's session, had led the last 6 road course qualifying sessions in a row. The last time someone other than Cristiano D'Amata was quickest on the day was in round 1 of qualifying at Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca. There's Dario Franchitti, currently 2nd. He briefly bumped D'Amata from the top of the speed charts in this session. He's working his 8th lap. A number of cars are in the pits, mounting fresh tires for their final blast.
Dario's slowing down. I'm pretty sure.
Will he head for the pit lane?
I think he's just creating a gap for himself, and now he'll get a real flyer through 9 and 10 and start his flyer.
Scott Pruitt has more on Dario.
That's exactly right. He just rolled out on stickers. He came in. I said, are you going to make any change? He says, we're not going to make any changes to the chassis, but we do need to raise the car up. We are going significantly faster. The car's in the ground significantly harder today. I also got done talking to the Newman Haas team about Cristiano D'Amata. What are they going to change? They're going to do some front damper changes. He's not quite 100% happy with the car. We're going to do just a small little front. In fact, as we're sitting here, he's starting up the car, getting ready to go back out for his last and final run of the day. Guys?
Thank you, Scott.
And they say they're getting to the ground, they're going quicker. They want to run the car just off the deck. The closer they are to the ground, the more downforce they make. But if they hit the ground, it upsets the car. So now, whether it's an air change or they're just, well, now Dario has backed off again.
Oh, we got a couple of cars gone around. That's Mario Dominguez. Boy, he's had an eventful weekend. A couple of trips off track. He is up to 10th, however, so Dominguez is giving it a heck of a ride. He and the Herdez team have struggled mightily this weekend. Dominguez is currently right there in the 10th spot with one more lap. Well, his session is basically over. See if we could figure out what happened.
Well, he was trying to, you had, I think, Carpentier getting up to speed. Mario was on his last flyer, turned in on the bumps, got the rears locked, and just kind of a lazy, harmless spin.
And as you saw, Cristiano D'Amata was exiting the pits. Dominguez wound up right in front of him. Now here's Kenny Brack from Target Chip Ganassi Racing. Brack currently 5th, working his 10th lap, going for a little space on the racetrack. One of his teammates, that's Scott Dixon, coming up quickly from behind. More from Scott Pruitt.
I just got done talking to the Ganassi team. Both cars, Brack and Junqueira, we were happy with the car, no changes. They just came in, put on 4 new set of those Bridgestone tires, the stickers, and go out and try and get some clear run. As you can see right now, they're running nose to tail, trying to get a good, clear run.
I wonder if Scott Dixon is altogether pleased that his teammate is right there in front of him. Dixon, the only driver in the session who has yet to improve on his time from yesterday. Across the top of your screen is the running order. The number in parentheses is the lap on which the driver set his fast time, or in this case, average speed. D'Amata, the only driver in the 132-mile-an-hour zone. Scott Dixon with 6 consecutive top 10 finishes coming into the weekend since moving over from the former Pac West team. 6th in the points chase, just 18 points behind Bruno Junqueira, despite the fact that the New Zealander has yet to lead a lap this season. One previous trip to Chicago, he did not finish. There is Brack. Once again, he slows down.
Through turn 1, up through the gears, down the back straight into 3. Now watch, he'll turn in before he lifts.
Oh man, turning in at top speed with one hand on the steering wheel because you have to go for the shift lever. That is edgy stuff.
And every time you go down through a gear, it is a sequential gearbox, so you can't skip. You're adding a little bit of changing the brake bias. If you're right on the limit braking, too much revs, it drives the rear wheels. Not enough, it adds extra rear braking.
Mario leaps out of the way.
See him gesticulating. He's talking on the radio and not happy about something.
That is Michael Andretti flashing by. Andretti currently 3rd. So Michael definitely having his best weekend of the last half dozen or so. Derek Daly has more on him.
Intently watching Michael Andretti here. Kim is talking about the boost to Michael. He's just put a second set of new tires on, Kim. Did he get a good representative run on that first new set?
No, he felt he didn't get the best out of them. These tires are great tires. They last a long time, but they take a while to come in. So really, I think you need about 5 laps on them before you get the best out of them, and then it's a matter of whether you catch traffic or not.
What did he say about the boost?
Well, we just, over the bumps, we just popped the pop-off valve a little bit. We noticed it here in the pit. He didn't feel it, but we're just being cautious right now.
Okay, Kim, thanks.
Less than 2 minutes to go in the session. A couple of drivers still have laps to give. We've got a spin. Kenny Brack is off in the grass. Brack currently 6th.
That's right where Kanaan went off as well, I believe, coming onto the front straightaway.
Down into 1 goes the Swede. There's your running order. Cristiano D'Amata at a 57.1. Next closest, Dario Franchitti at a 57.4.
Both Dario and Michael's last laps were good ones. They're both about a 10th off their best.
There's another look at Kenny Brack going backwards.
Wow, long ways. Almost got close to that other runway.
That's a pretty scary thought.
And again, that bump on the inside, right at the apex of the right-hander, is what starts the car into a, a weird dynamic, not a weird dynamic, a bad dynamic, hopping all over the place.
Lex Tagliani has now completed his runs. He's buried in 14th. Who's that off? Is that Carpentier?
Yes.
Yes, it is. He has just gone to P2, put everything into that lap.
Gone to P2 and the boonies all at once.
There you go. Calvin Fish.
This team really needed a break, and Pat put a great lap together there, 57.4. He was on a faster lap, according to Mike Cannon, obviously pushing very hard. And that's one thing the drivers are able to do here at Cleveland. Lots of runoff room. They really drive at almost 11 tenths every lap in qualifying, TK.
Yeah, you heard a lot of drivers at Portland really had to balance. There was only one spot on the track where aggression paid off. Here it's almost the exact opposite. Turn 1's about the only place, well, even turn 1 under braking. So here, aggression turns into better lap time. So you see guys really digging and taking chances.
Checkered flag is out. The session is over. And Cristiano D'Amata, Jimmy Vasser has also gone around. Cristiano D'Amata, once again, 7th consecutive road course session where he has been at the top of the charts. Another championship bonus point, and that puts him an even 50 points up on Bruno Junqueira. Here's another look at Jimmy. Got on the power a little too soon.
I think he was heading down the inside off speed, either letting Cristiano by and just really dusty over on that part of the racetrack.
Vasser making his way back around. Patrick Carpentier will end the session second quick at 57.4. 4/10 of a second from Cristiano D'Amata to the second fastest runner.
And Cristiano improved by a little less than a tenth on his final run, but that little snapshot of Jimmy there going around just off speed on the inside is a sneak preview on why turn 1 at the start of this race is so difficult. Everyone runs every single lap braking on the left side, then all of a sudden the first time they try the inside and they all try it at once, it's really, really dirty. And even if you think you're being conservative, it's still more than the car can do to get stopped.
7 times the Grand Prix of Cleveland has been won from pole, most recently by Roberto Moreno 2 years ago. There is Cristiano D'Amata, who picks up his 13th bonus point, either for leading in qualifying or leading most laps in a race. The rest of the field has won but 10 total. We'll take a break, come back to hear from the key players. Welcome back live to Burke Lakefront Airport. Qualifying for the Kart Grand Prix of Cleveland is now complete. Cristiano D'Amata has won his 4th pole in the last 5 races as he seeks his 5th consecutive victory. Scott Pruitt is standing by with him.
He's doing a quick debrief here. Cristiano, actually grab a shot out here. Grab a shot right up here of his flagpole. Right up there. Now with all these poles and all these wins, I think you're going to have to get a longer flagpole, put all these flags up.
Well, we maybe can get 2 if this is the biggest problem we have. That's good.
Today, I mean, everybody's talking about you guys are just on a roll. The whole team has just been tremendous. Everybody's just been clicking. You know, you and I had a chance to work together for a year. How sweet is it when things are clicking like they are?
Well, it's you know, Scott, you've raced your whole life. You know how much easier everything is when just the whole team, everything is just going smooth. Have a good basic setup that we can pretty much go to every track with it, and we unload the car and the car is quick right away. So that's a pretty good thing that makes us pretty confident going into every track. So that's one of the things. So we can start tuning and like fine-tuning the car a lot earlier than everybody else. See that usually our difference on the race weekends usually shrinks as the times goes on. That's this unload, the way we unload the car has been just great. So have a lot of credit to give those engineers here and the crew, and it's just we have to keep on doing it.
And enjoy it while you're up on top, right?
Exactly. Just enjoy. You know how tough it is to be on top, so when you're on the top, you have to enjoy it.
That's exactly right. Congratulations, terrific job. Looking for a 5th straight win tomorrow. Let's go down a little further to Calvin with our second plate runner, Patrick Carpentier. Calvin?
Well, certainly big smiles here in the players' camp. Patrick, as always, he's kind of swamped by the news media from Canada and the lights. We're going to try and break in here.
It was a front grip at first and then rear grip, and we kept going from front to back, but just stability over the bumps, I think, is the key here, and we succeed to do that. Right.
Pat, it was a great run. Second place. Michael Cannon, your engineer, that's his birthday. Nice gift for him.
I'm happy. Happy birthday, Mike. I think he does a great job. Sometimes we don't seem to have the tool to do it, but this weekend he read what I was saying perfectly, and Ford improved the traction control for corner 1. We tried something big at the end there, and he said, let's just try it on the last set, and it was better.
Electronics have been a bit of an issue. I know I heard you, a couple of the races stuff has been implemented but may not have been tested enough, but this weekend it's all coming together for you and Ford.
Compared to the weekend we had in Toronto so far, it's pretty easy and smooth weekend. When you have absolutely no problem, it's so much easier to set the car up, and I'm happy.
All right, Pat, great job today.
Thank you.
Bob?
Best qualified position of the season for Patrick Carpentier, and he was the biggest gainer from his position yesterday, 8 spots to P2. Biggest loser on the day, Scott Dixon, by far dropping 9 positions on the grid. There's a look at the pole standings for the season. All 4 of D'Amato's have come on road courses, and all have led to victories. Welcome back. There's a look at downtown Cleveland, just a short walk from Burke Lakefront Airport and one of the most conveniently located racetracks anywhere in the racing world. As we welcome you back, Bob Varsha, along with Tommy Kendall, Derek Daly, Calvin Fish, and Scott Pruitt. Qualifying is now complete, but once again, not without a few incidents. Here's one involving Tony Kanaan rapidly overtaking Christian Fittipaldi.
Trying to overtake Christian Fittipaldi.
Came up behind him on the racing line, tried to go down the inside. That didn't work either. As you see, Kanaan waving his distress at his Brazilian countryman. Got him up on the curb on the inside. This from on board between turns 7 and 8. That had to be frustrating for Kanaan, who wound up losing 4 positions from his qualified performance yesterday. Let's get down to Scott Pruitt with Christian Fittipaldi.
Christian and I were just looking at the video that you guys just saw. Was Tony telling you you're number 1 in his book?
No, he was a little bit upset with me. But first thing I did after the whole thing was over, I went up to his pits and I said sorry. But at the same time, Tora lifted in front of me. I lifted to try and get a clear run. And I thought Tony was further behind me. And I didn't imagine that he was going to catch up to me so quick. But the whole chain reaction started with Tora, and probably he lifted because someone else lifted in front of him. So it's one of those things that someone is going to end up hurt in this deal, and they end up being Tony. But I like Tony very much. We get along very well. We don't have any problems. And I said, man, if you want to do the same to me next time you do it, like, I honestly don't know what to say. I'm almost crying here in front of you. If there's, out of all the guys, one guy that I didn't want to screw up in qualifying was definitely you, because we get along very well.
Well, a bit of frustration. Let's go down to Calvin with Tony. Calvin?
Tony, I know you don't really have a problem with Christian. It's just kind of one of those things that happens right now in these qualifying stages. But explain to me why that everyone is waiting. Talk about what happened to you yesterday and about the rhythm of qualifying.
Well, what's going on is everybody waits, because more you wait when everybody, towards the end of the session, it's where the must rubber it's in the track. So we wait for, yesterday I said, okay guys, let's go before everybody so we can have a clean run, and when we come in they go out. Obviously I'm out doing my hot laps and they get out of the pits in cold tires and they got ahead of me. So today we said, all right, let's go with everybody, because everybody gets a rhythm so you can go, and then it happened again, so we don't know how to win.
All right, mate, well, good luck tomorrow. 6th place on the grid for Tony Kanaan.
Thanks, guys. Once again, it put it down to having too many cars on track at the end of the session. When you wait that long before you go out, you can expect to encounter traffic. We'll be back to wrap things up. Today's live Speed Channel coverage has been brought to you by Porsche, what only a Porsche brings to driving. By FedEx, proud sponsor of the Kart FedEx Championship Series. And by Toyota, get the feeling. That's a good look from Burke Lakefront Airport over to Cleveland Brown Stadium, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, just 2 of the many charms of Cleveland. A great city on a great lake. Here's a look at the final results of qualifying as we prepare for the Marconi Grand Prix of Cleveland. Final thought, Tommy Kendall?
Well, after a situation like that, it makes you feel so much better to go up to a guy and say, you know, you are a moron. But it takes kind of all the wind out of your sails when he says you're right.
Best starts of the year for Patrick Carpentier, Christian Fittipaldi, and Michael Andretti. Be sure to join us for the Grand Prix of Cleveland on CBS Sports tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time live. And at 5 o'clock Eastern on Speed, the Toyota Atlantic Championship from Burke Lakefront Airport. I'm Bob Varsha for Tommy Kendall, Derek Daly, Calvin Fish, and Scott Pruitt. So long for now from Cleveland.